underway. So now we're on law number 27, which is play on people's need to believe to create a cult-like following. So this law literally delineated, it mapped out a 5-step process to create a cult-like following. And I did not list them in my notes because I said, nope, that's not what we're doing. That's not why we're here. And all of it is very reflective of snake oil salesmen, charlatans, and those we are going to go over in here. And the lecture that I'm going to invite, the food for thought, for consideration in today's sermon, today's speech, is a simple idea. The unpopular one, which is to do the work, which is if you want change, you have to work. You have to do the inner work. You have to do the hard work. You have to do the lonely work. There's no easy way out. We have no interest to lead people astray, to align with charlatan deception. Do you understand? So we're going to follow in the path of Greg Plitt, that road that he laid for us to follow, of sweat equity, of integrity, of character, of not cutting the fucking corners, doing the work in private that you'll one day get rewarded for in public, right? There's a good quote by Tony Robbins: people are rewarded in public for what they've practiced for thousands of hours in private. So we're not trying to shortchange, we're not trying to cut corners when no one sees. Good quote by Greg Plitt: success isn't a light switch that goes on and off when someone's watching. It's constant. So this whole idea of creating, in this law, playing on people's need to believe to create a cult-like following, it offers the idea for you to implore deception and snake oil salesmen, and really playing on people's naivety, gullibility, their need to believe in something. And I tie this in with challenging religious institutions and just people who blindly follow, who don't think for themselves. There's a good ideology in this. Distance allows us to reason. Distance, emotional distance, intellectual distance, where we actually ponder, consider, weigh the options, right? Challenge the criteria being presented to us. But if you're with the masses, that's very hard to do, because if you've ever been in a mass, if you've ever been in a group of people where they're all very fickle, they're all very malleable, if you get one person yelling, you can get 10 people yelling and 100 people yelling. And in the rat life, in masses, you can create a learned state of helplessness, where because everyone is a coward, I could speak for this, attest for this personally in my former place of employment. I'm still getting paid by them, but I've exited from that job mentally and emotionally and spiritually. But with all the management, right, with all the leaders who all implored cowardice to stand idle amidst all the abuse and all the disrespect, it created a learned state of helplessness where no one else in non-management spoke up because of the mass stupidity and cowardice, right? If you're in a room of 100 people and 99 of them are so certain that this is truth, right? It's very challenging for you not to hesitate or doubt or second guess when you're surrounded by absolute certainty that this is right. And don't get me wrong, I understand that there's black and white things that, if you're seeing a public hanging, in modern day society, and you're just like, this is not right. And then all these people are like clamoring for death, for blood. That's very easy to do. But when you're in a learned state of helplessness within the rat life, and it's very subtle disrespect and subtle manipulation and subtle deception, and all these other people are speaking with such confidence, resolve, and certainty, then very challenging, especially if you're someone who has an agreeable nature, right? And someone who's very fluid and very open-minded with their belief system and changing it as new information is presented to you, right? So if you have a sample size within your rat life job of fucking 99 people who all say one thing, then you'd say, maybe I'm wrong, right? That's somebody who's secure, somebody who takes information and then has the security within themselves to change their opinion, to change their resolve accordingly. That's treacherous, though, when you're changing an opinion from truth and facts and principle and good ideologies and philosophies to charlatan bullshit. Okay, so I hope that lays the groundwork. Within rat life, within Tarek House, we're not aligning with any bullshit. I'm not a snake oil salesman. I'm not putting my name in that category. I'm not allowing my words to have a consequence of my name being synonymous with bullshit or anything that is not aligned with character and integrity. right? I'm not going to risk my naming attached to the antithesis of that, right? So with that, let's begin. Play on people's need to believe to create a cult-like following. And then this is a quote from the intro. People have an overwhelming desire to believe in something. Become the focal point of such desire by offering them a cause, a new faith to follow. Give your new disciples rituals to perform. Ask them to make sacrifices on your behalf. And then I put my notes underneath it, escape the rat life, and I put untold power, but it's freedom forever, right? So if you're aligning with rat life, I'm not here to, be worshipped. I'm not here to invite a new religion. I'm on the quest to becoming Christ-like, not Christian, not Catholic, not Muslim. Christ-like, a leader amongst leaders, someone with unparalleled character, integrity, those virtues, right? Work ethic, perseverance, heart, will, right? Passion, excitement, enthusiasm. I'm not aligning with any bullshit. I have no interest in religious context. I have no interest in being around people who don't think for themselves or people who preach one thing and do another. That's complete garbage. The modern day, in my opinion, and this is good for me to discuss and talk about, modern day religion is flooded with hypocrisy, and it's absolute cess and degradation and garbage and people who don't align with what they say. I have the greatest amount of respect for the Muslim community simply because they veer towards more conservative values, which is what Christianity used to. At least it did in the Western culture. I'm saying it still can in parts where it's still practiced as it's preached, but in Western civilization society, they'll say one thing, no, this is where our hard stance is, and yet we're tolerating all of this garbage that is the antithesis of integrity, right? Is you being inconsistent with what you say and what you're accepting of. That's complete bullshit. And it's just this yes man, do as you're told, docile, compliant, obedient slave. And I have a great disdain for control of the masses, of just brainwashing. That's why I feel very passionate about this law, playing on people's need to believe. It's very easily to manipulate malleable minds, right? People who are very easy to be made manipulated emotionally. And I don't have any love for the people who play on that weakness within others. That let me insinuate fear, let me insinuate guilt, let me insinuate fucking manipulation to get your money, right? It's all bullshit. So I have no interest in aligning with any of that garbage. I align with God. I align with truth. I align with freedom, period. So when I say escape the rat life, that's my mantra that I'll live and die by. That anyone can escape. It starts with belief and the courage to pursue. We are all going to make it. To continue. As long as you don't make anyone really think. So that was a quote from this law to create a cult-like following, playing on people's need to believe. As long as you don't make anyone really think. Yeah, because if you thought for yourself, you could see through all the bullshit. If you were able to isolate yourself and get out of the masses, get out of the sheep mentality, you'd be able to see through the matrix, through the rat life, through the whole fucking scam. It's actually something that I have a deep appreciation for psychedelics, because under the consumption of psychedelics, you're allowed to see the world in the absence of systems. So if you've ever taken mushrooms, if you've ever taken any psychedelic substance, you get to see the world as it is, without the systems that the world has imposed on you from a lifetime of conditioning. And you're actually able to see through the bullshit. But people don't go down I learned this from Joe Dispenza. He was asked in an interview, how do you feel about psychedelics and that sort of treatment? And he said, if you're using it for truth, for clarity, for insight, right, on your path to enlightenment, he said, I'm all for it. And that's what I align with. I had the biggest appreciation for a neuroscientist to say something like that. And we're discussing the 48 Laws of Power with the author Robert Greene, who has a history of doing peyote and taking mushrooms. And it's beautiful because what does that allow you to do? It expands your mind and allows you to think for yourself. Now, I'm not saying all the disciples of rat life, right? Everyone a part of this community should be going and doing drugs recklessly. That's where it turns into bullshit. But I submit these ideas for consideration to the good counsel of the people watching this. Why would substances that have a plethora of testimonials of healing properties, such as curing addiction, curing depression, making people stop whatever garbage, vice, indulgence, or self-degradation that they've been doing for years, immediately be under the scrutiny of the law. Why would such substances be illegal when things like alcohol, that have a plethora of testimonials being attributed to death and murder and depression, that's legal, right? Ask yourself why. The whole point of this university is to get you to think, to actually enact the antithesis of this, which is to give yourself distance, to allow for reason, right? As long as you don't make anyone really think, no. Put me in the category of, I forget who it was, Socrates or Aristotle, who was imprisoned for corrupting the youth, for getting people to use their fucking mind, to think for themselves, to challenge the society and what they're trying to impose on you, the society at large, right? So I want you to think, I want you to challenge, I want you to question even things that I'm saying. So in regards to the psychedelics, it's just something to consider. Why would something that inspires oxytocin, makes you full of love, I've had the greatest amount of empathy towards other people. We're doing things like acid, LSD. Why would such things be so taboo and the narrative on them be manipulated for it to be so terrible for you when the latter, with alcohol, has been proven to be 1,000,000 times worse, yet it's legal, right? Oh, maybe it's a business. Oh, maybe we don't want people full of love. Oh, maybe we don't want people to think for themselves. People are a lot harder to control if they thought for themselves. Interesting. We better make this illegal, right? We better put out all of these stories of these people. Oh, you don't want to turn like that guy. You don't want to be like that guy. Do you know what changed my mindset, not to go on this tangent? Was I watched a video of Joe Rogan talking with Dorian Yates about MDMA and about psychedelics. And they were speaking with such severity. There was no jest in their tones. They weren't joking, they weren't laughing, they were completely serious, talking one person to another with respect for their journeys, with respect for their experiences, with respect for doing ayahuasca, the like. And I grew up in a Middle Eastern, I'm half Egyptian from my dad, and you're raised that drugs are for losers and bums, and then when you go to college and you see people who are stoners and losers, it sort of substantiates that claim. You're like, okay, I don't want to be that guy, I don't want to go down that road. And again, this isn't for me to encourage you to do drugs, it's for me to encourage you to think for yourself on what you see and what you're presented in the society at large. And when I watched this interview, I said, that's weird. Again, thinking for yourself. Joe Rogan sold the Joe Rogan Experience to Spotify for over $100 million. Doesn't seem like a loser. Seems pretty successful. Dorian Yates, 6-time Mr. Olympia bodybuilder, at the time the #1 bodybuilder in the world. Maybe there's something to this than the bullshit that I've been fed. Okay, so do you understand what I'm trying to get at? To think for yourself, to ask questions, right? To not go down the path of fear. And I'll tell you something I had a recent mushroom experience where it was a severe overdose, and I asked myself in my iteration, why are you doing this? And I said, because I want truth and peace. Truth and peace. That's all I'm searching for in this life, is truth and peace. And then do you know what, at the conclusion of it, when I was sort of, when God saved my life from not fucking dying from that poison, which it can be. That's why I put that caveat. I'm not saying to all the young men watching this to go do drugs. But I don't regret any of the experiences that I've had, because it made me the person that I am today. And somebody in the pursuit of truth, I do wholeheartedly plan on doing things like ayahuasca and things like that in the future. But then in my reflections, I said, you're trying to pursue truth and peace. So what you need to do is pursue Him, is pursue God. And it's fascinating. I talked about this in a previous lecture, but if you're in the search of truth, I believe you end up at God. Always. I believe that every path you take, like I have always tried everything I can in the quest to learn, in the quest to, close the gap of my potential, to become the Tarek Hawks that I, have the potential to become. That when I die and I get to look at the man that I could have become, I want that person to be a mere reflection, not a complete stranger. That's a terrifying thought. So I'm willing to have that open mind and open heart to achieve that end through any means, through any avenues, because I'm not closed-minded in my mindset or in my belief system that if I'm presented, like I said, new information, I'm allowed to reason, to consider, to reflect, to look at the people giving me the advice or the guidance, then, maybe this is to my benefit. Maybe this is to help me grow, to help me heal. Or maybe this is just bullshit. Maybe this is just manipulation. Thus we enact the quotes that I implore for you to memorize, to commit to memory, to commit to habit within this university. My unmatched perspicacity coupled with sheer indefatigability makes me a feared opponent in any realm of human endeavor, right? Your ability to perceive, to be aware, to be awake, right? To not allow yourself to be manipulated, to stand guard at the doorway of your mind. Because otherwise, if you do not have a plan, if you're not standing guard, other people will manipulate you. You will be used by others as a part of their plan. You'll be a cog in their wheel. You'll be, as they describe in here, a cattle to milk, right? Until you're no longer of use and then discarded, right? Okay, so that's what sort of opened my mind to see successful people, $100 million sales, 6-time Mr. Olympia, talk about these things with severity and jest. And so that made me think, oh, maybe this isn't just bullshit. Maybe this isn't just for losers. And so I had that great appreciation from that experience, and then from Joe Dispenza, that amazing neuroscientist, substantiating it. Because all of us who are on the path, what are we trying to do? To heal. That's it. We're trying to heal. We're trying to learn. We're trying to grow, right? Imagine yourself as a caterpillar having to go through the transformation to become that butterfly. I feel like that's what everybody yearns to do, but it takes courage to do it, to admit that of your fuck-ups, of your failures, of your mistakes, to give yourself grace, the same grace that you would impart on a friend, right? Giving that to yourself. Not using the past as a baton to beat yourself to death with. I saw a great video the other day, I think it was yesterday, that said, and I liked it on Instagram, it said, sometimes you'll hate yourself for decisions that you made in the past, or for abuse, that you endured, that you didn't, reject or didn't fight against, and you'll hate yourself for what you did when you became the very person that would defend your younger self today. And it offered the idea to give yourself so much love and so much grace that what happened to you wasn't your fault. And I've had to tell that to myself a lot, especially with what I've experienced with within the rat life, all of the abuse, all of the harassment, all of the bullying, and I'll find myself going down that loop, that path of hating myself for not saying anything when I knew better, right? But then trying to, see where I was mentally, intellectually, emotionally, in that learned state of helplessness, understanding that me, at my sort of status and rank, it wasn't my place to say things. It was the place of the managers and the administrators and the people who are in these positions of authority, of actual leaders. But then as I've grown, as I've matured, I realized that the title doesn't fucking make anything of a leader. So even a person at this, rank on the imaginary proverbial totem pole of the rat life, they could be a greater leader than the fucking leader of the organization, the number one, the head guy, which I currently stand, just because I align with character and integrity and courage to speak the truth, right? So it's all an idea to give yourself grace, to not use the past as a baton to beat yourself to death with, right? To be, and I thought of this, I was doing my reflections of all I've overcome over the past years, right? Drug overdoses, homelessness, abuse within different relationships, romantic or professional, any sort of negativity, any gaslighting, I used to live in a garage when I was in high school for several years. Like, I was going down the list of all the garbage that I've had to endure and persevere through and overcome, injuries that I've endured, like all the fucking setbacks, all of the limiting beliefs that I've shattered. And I told myself, I said, dude, you do not give yourself enough credit. And by no coincidence, something on my feed said to give yourself so much love and admiration and pride for how much you've overcome on your journey. And I saw another quote that said, you don't look like the person who's been through what they've been through. And I love that so much. What a warm thought, that because you carry it so well, it doesn't mean it's not heavy, right? But you carry it with such a grace. You still afford other people love despite all of the fucking hate and the attacks and the spiritual, ascension that's been on you. That's the wrong word. The spiritual attacks that you've been subject to. Despite all of the pain, all of the heartache, all of the betrayal, all of the projection, you still carry a smile. You still act with grace. You still offer compassion and empathy towards others. And it's just, I look at myself and I think, you're such a fucking angel. And you don't give yourself, I was gonna say, you don't do yourself any favors, which is true. I said, you don't give yourself enough credit. And it's something that even I have to work on. So I offer all of that for food for thought, food for consideration. And it all ties in with, to get you to think, to get you to reason, to get you to think for yourself, right? To adopt whatever philosophy you have, not one that someone fucking tells you to adopt. Good movie, Robin Hood, the newer one, not the newest one, so the second one, with Russell Crowe and Lady Marion, the friar, the guy who is gives the speeches in the church at the time. He said, he was telling her what to do and what God says and all this bullshit. And she said, as I said, good friar, I like a quiet church when I pray. And that's exactly how I feel, is I love the path of walking with God. There's a beautiful line in the Bible that says, God, as you understand him. And we live and we believe all the shit that we've just been conditioned to believe just because your parents told you this is what you should believe. And not to say that I'm not going to pass on my belief systems to my children, but I'm going to offer them the platform, right? The environment, the safety circle to think for themselves, to question what I'm telling them, and then you can use reason to get them to arrive at a conclusion that's founded on principle and truth, right? But if you tell them it's this way or nothing, that's how you get the rebellious child. If you tell them this or you're going to hell, it's such bullshit and it's such garbage and it's such needless conditioning, right? And we can break all of that garbage by just allowing for an environment and creating a garden like this where we offer people the opportunity, not for this, not the opportunity for a possibility for men to believe what they already want to believe. Fuck that. For you to be open to believing truth. For you to be open to receiving healing. How do you think you heal? How do you think when you have an open wound, how is it sealed? You have to cauterize it, right? Fire is introduced to seal that wound. Healing fucking is the most painful thing, right? To go internally, to shatter limiting beliefs. I said a quote in a previous lecture, God will take you to the edge. If you want to heal, if you want to ascend, if you want to ascend on your path of spiritual enlightenment, right? If you want to awaken, as I've, that ideology has been introduced to me, it's going to be very painful. It's going to be very lonely. It's going to be very saddening. It's going to be very fucking soul crushing and defeating. Why? That's where growth is, on the other side of discomfort, right? You put metal through a forge. You introduce fire for it to then be forged. It's the same thing with your personal development and your transformation, but nobody talks about that. Nobody talks about the agonizing pain that's going to go through in the discomfort. Everybody's trying to get the easy way out. They're trying to go around the work, right? They want the shortcut. They want all the quick fix. They want all the bullshit, the instant gratification. If you're aligned with Tarek House, if you're aligned with Rat Life, you don't buy into any of that bullshit. You're here for the long run. You're here to heal. You're here to do the inner work. You're here to grow as a man, as a woman. Okay. Any outsider who tries to reveal the charlatan nature of your belief system can now be described as a member of this devious force. So he's inviting the idea that you can get your team, you can create a fabricated enemy, and you can make the enemy that they would say this about this. Oh, you know what the enemy will say is that this belief system that I'm telling you to believe is bullshit. That's how you know they're the enemy. I said it's professional gaslighting. If you're able to manipulate your people, your good cattle, your good sheep in this cult-like following, that the person who calls out your bullshit, they're the ones who are full of shit just because they stand a minority versus your masses. I said, I'm not lining with any of that garbage. Fuck all that. So that's when I say when I didn't write down the 5 steps to create a cult-like following, it was because it was stupid ideologies like that. Only the great are persecuted. I just love that. It was written there, so I wrote it down. And it made me think of myself, that what I'm going through right now, not to put myself on the same tier as the good Jesus Christ, but I want you to start again asking yourself, why Or is it that good people like you, good people with loving hearts, with full of empathy, compassion, integrity, why is it that you're always met with so much persecution, so much hatred, so much pain? I found that it's because your light exposes so much darkness within others. It exposes so much of their own insecurities, and it highlights so many of their fears. So I've noticed in my decade of personal development, actually I started June of 2013, so this is my 12th year of personal development. Physically, intellectually, relationally, emotionally, spiritually, financially. I think I said spiritually, but that should be the last one, the most important. I've found that I've been on the other end of so much emotional projection, and it's made me challenge God and question that, should I continue to impart love on other people? Because I am so over motherfuckers bleeding on somebody who didn't cut them, somebody who only has their best interests at heart, somebody who knows that by me telling you a lie, being a snake oil salesman, I'm doing you no fucking favors. I'm doing you the biggest disservice, versus by telling you the truth, right? By planting a seed of belief and possibility within you that I know will one day water, that I know one day will transform you into this beautiful fucking butterfly in your own garden, right? That quote, life is about planting trees under whose shade you'll never sit. I have a plethora of experience where the consequence of that is me being branded a fucking villain. And I've challenged and questioned God. I said, I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to be a perpetual villain in people's stories, even though that I know the transformation. I know the ripple effect that happens from me imparting love. And I know that, I say that, I challenge God in this, but I know that I'm always going to choose to give love to other people, to treat others how I would like to be treated, to choose to believe in other people, to believe in their potential, to breathe confidence in that vision, right? That's what I want to align with. That's Tarek Hawks. But it doesn't mean that it's welcoming or very painful, or not very painful, but it does give you a sort of lens of understanding that, I've said this in a prior lecture, but when you offer the idea to other people that they're effortless to love unconditionally, as in under no pretense, no condition, you don't need romantic reciprocity from them, you don't need money from them in your sales, or you don't want anything or need anything from them, and you still invite the idea that they're worthy of love when they don't believe that, when they've have a history of sexual partners or relationships that have conditioned the idea that they have to work so hard for validation or recognition or approval, that they have to work so hard, or if they had a parent that made them work so hard for the slightest bit of attention, the slightest bit of validation, or afforded them their time, and you invite the idea that you're always available, that you're so beautiful, you're so smart, you're so easy to love. I've learned from my experience that people will hate that idea. They'll hate, it's gonna cap out. It's a good thing I checked on the timer. They'll hate the belief system that you're exposing within them, that limiting belief that I'm not worthy of this. And so what happens is they'll bleed and bleed and bleed and emotionally project and crash all these fucking projected emotional waves that have nothing to do with you. So I've learned to go about my life without the apology that I deserved from people. Like, I've learned to heal and to move on and to grow despite all of the injustice that I've been subject to from people who I've only imparted love to. So it's just part of the game. So that's why I tied it into only the great are persecuted, and only the loving you find yourself just becoming a warrior when all you wanted to do was give and receive love. But maybe we can reach more people. Maybe we can heal more people, or invite a beautiful garden of non-judgment, non-condemnation that allows other people to be healed. What a beautiful thought, Tarek thought. And then I put healing via isolation, my experience of getting people to let go. So I've had a lot of experience particularly with women, where if I've got them isolated, because this talks about being in a group. So if you're in a group, you have that cattle, that sheep mentality, right? And especially if you are watching this and you have negative influences in your life, you have shitty friends, shitty, gossiping, negative, depressed, garbage weeds in your garden. And so you're some of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. So if you are surrounded by gossip and celebrity and bullshit and put downs and hatred, that will be a plague. It'll disease your mindset. So I've curated my garden where I've pruned all of those fucking weeds from my life. So anyone who's in my life, they only are permitted into my life if they invite love. Anything else, if they invite effort, it requires effort for me to be loved by them, they're not in it. If they make me feel uncomfortable in my skin, they're not in it. If they make me feel unconfident being myself, they're not in it, right? I have that beautiful litmus test, you could say, that I've curated my reality to that effect. But when I've gotten people, particularly like unhealed, emotionally unavailable, broken women, and it's something that I used to attract in a plethora of it just because I was an unhealed, broken man or boy, I guess I would categorize it more so at that age. I noticed that when I could get them out of all their negative influences, when I could get them vulnerable to just put their fucking walls down, to just stop putting on this front, this bullshit, and the ones who had the courage to let go, to be honest, to admit they didn't have it all together, to admit all of the sexual or physical or relational or emotional abuse that they've been subject to, then I was able to get through to them. I was able to plant some of the most powerful, transformative, healing seeds I've ever planted in my entire life. And it is so beautiful to see the planting trees under whose shade you'll never sit, the healing ramifications, consequences. The fruit of that sort of labor, which it's not labor, it's my favorite thing to do, is sort of indirectly heal people. I consider myself a healer. Anyone who's had a long, like say a 4-hour conversation with me, or it could be shorter, it could be longer, who are present, who have the courage to let go, I swear God is my witness, I've changed their life. And that's one of the things I'm the most proud of with my own character is there's not a single person who's come into my life whose life wasn't made better by my introduction to it. And so that's what I want to continue to do for my entire life. And people can have shitty experiences with me. That doesn't mean that their life wasn't made better, because you giving someone the gift of candor, being honest with them, you're doing them a greater favor than lying to them, right? I learned this when I was a personal trainer and I wouldn't correct one of my clients' forms. And they complained about me to my manager of that facility at the time. Her name's Carrie. We used to be good friends. And she told me that, she sat me down and she said, listen, she taught me coaching versus cheerleading. She said, I know you want to motivate them. I know you don't want to demotivate them, which is exactly why I didn't correct their form. She said, but they could get injured. So you're not doing them any favors by not criticizing their form. That's coaching. That's what they're paying you for, And so I learned that lesson of candor, and I've applied that to every relationship and every interaction, that if I am afraid of your lashback or of how you're going to fight against me, or it's going to, end our relationship, and I let courage stand, cowardice stand, because I'm afraid to lose you, or I'm afraid you're not going to like me, or whatever the fuck, you actually do that person the greatest disservice when you could be giving them a gift. You could be healing them, helping them, really planting the seed to transform their entire life if you just had the courage to be honest and tell the truth. So I always align with that. That's Tarek Houks, that's rat life, is truth, man, is healing, is honesty, is candor. It's not bullshit. It's not putting on a front. It's not pretending to be someone you're not. It's not having all this fucking ego. That's all a front is. When you have a wall that's 10 miles high, all it screams is your fear. You're too much of a pussy to let go because you're afraid of getting hurt or being judged and therefore experiencing hurt and pain. So you're like, I'm going to hide behind this fucking wall. Versus as soon as you have the courage to fucking let go, to face that fear, there's a good quote by Greg Plitt, the life you dream of is on the other side of that. It's on the other side of your greatest fear. And then once you attack it, dude, you'll realize that it was all an illusion, right? Fear and faith equal, right? Hope and doubt. They're just thoughts that you choose which one to give weight to, Which one requires more courage? It requires more courage to face your fears, obviously. There is no courage without fear, right? If you weren't afraid, it wouldn't be courageous, okay? That's why I love courage. That's why I love people having the courage to speak the truth, or to just be themselves, or to let go, because I know most people are too much of a fucking coward to do that. They're too insecure. They have too much ego, arrogance, pride, but what it distills down to is they're just a pussy. They're just afraid to be honest, with themselves. So I have the greatest disdain for cowardice. I don't tolerate it with any of my friend groups anymore. I used to. I felt like such a hypocrite. So if you're associated with me in any manner, you are not a fucking hypocrite. You don't kid yourself. You don't bullshit me. You don't insult my intelligence, right? It doesn't help you. You're not doing yourself any favor by being dishonest with yourself and then trying to sell that bill of goods, being that fucking snake oil salesman weasel rat to myself. Right now, you're not going to do that because I've set the precedent that I'm somebody who respects himself. I'm not somebody who tolerates bullshit, right? Least of all from fucking you, who is trying to elicit help and healing. But then you're going to play this game of, ego, of pride, of insecurity, of fear. No. It's courage or get the fuck out. If you want to stand on cowardice, you don't belong here. You're not welcome in this garden, right? Because I only want people involved with Tariq Hawks, with Rat Life, who have the courage to let go. To pursue, part of the pursuit is letting go, is facing your fears, is going for it, is having the courage to try, to fail, right? To go through the fire of discomfort, to heal and grow, to become the man or woman you have the fucking potential to become, right? That comes from honesty, healing, and this battery's gonna die. One sec. All right, I hope I made that point crystal clear. So, I just love it. I love being a healer. I love how that's my soul, my spirit. What I align with in this life is I heal people. I plant trees under whose shade I will never sit. I allow for the flow of God's water. There's a good quote that one of my angels sent me that you've probably have experience where you notice this, where someone's articulative ability is so spectacular. They're able to talk 1,000,000 miles a minute and never stutter once, and they seem so in flow. When in reality, it's not them utilizing their skill. It's not them standing on their own. And in this quote that one of my good angels, my good mentor sent me, it's God, literally you're a channel of God's water to flow through you, to heal people. And when I'm sitting with somebody and having one of those, 4-hour, 6-hour healing conversations, walls fucking down, they're on the verge of tears, we're both completely present, right? Pitching and catching, hanging on to each other's every word, zero judgment, zero condemnation, zero criticism that's not candor. And they feel so safe to let go. I swear I tap into God's flow, God's water, God's channeling, and that nothing makes me happier. And that in the future, I'm going to introduce a series called Office Hours, where anybody who has a question, who wants to help themselves, I want to help people who want to help themselves, you'll be able to see that. You'll be able to see me sort of be in that flow state, because that's me in my most harmonious state. And it makes me so happy, and it gives me so much energy and excitement. And this is all Rat Life University, what I'm doing with these solo lectures. This is all the precursor to that will one day literally be able to heal people around the world. It's so awesome. To continue. Remember, people are not interested in the truth about change. They do not want to hear that it has come from hard work. The charlatan achieves his great power by simply opening a possibility for men to believe what they already want to believe. Then they'll crowd around like cattle. We don't want to do that, right? We don't want to create docile, compliant, obedient cattle, sheep, slaves. That's not my prerogative. I want to be surrounded by people who want to think for themselves, right? Who want to use reasoning. I was going to quote from 300s, like reason and justice. But that's what I want. I want people who think for themselves, who don't just accept shit at face value. They challenge ideas. They form their own philosophies. And they have the security within themselves that they can have a conversation of dialogue with somebody who has a differing point of view of them. Because think about it. You harbor your ideologies, your belief systems, your philosophies based on a lifetime of conditioning and education and circle of influences and experiences that have led you to where you are today, right? So with that knowledge, with that cognizance, it's very easy to have compassion and understanding for someone who has a differing point of view based on their fucking completely different upbringing than you. Good quote by Abraham Lincoln himself. When he wrote a letter of admiration to a cabinet officer of the Confederate Army, his wife fucking scolded him for it. Bad wife, nagging. And she said, "How dare you say such things? You should, say he's all these negative garbage things." He corrected her with his wisdom and his humility. and he said, under similar circumstances, you and I would be no different. Had he been born there in the South with a Confederate upbringing, not only would he believe what that officer believed, he would be just as passionate in that disposition. So it's the greatest ignorance, naivety, stupidity, right? When people are so quick to anger and to hate of someone who has a different point of view than them, right? That isn't a sign of personal development. That isn't a sign of emotional maturity or security within yourself as a man. That's a reflection of your dire ignorance. So, food for thought. That if you see someone who's achieved so much and you're just so quick to hate them, I could think of Arnold that people have offered garbage to. I could think of Donald Trump. I could think of countless people. And yet they've done so many incredible things. And you have the utmost arrogance to submit that I don't have anything to learn from them just because I don't like X, Y, Z about them. It's just that garbage I have no interest to tolerate within this university. That closed-minded stupidity, right? We all have something to learn from other people. And when you go about your life like that, you'll find learning and truth within others. When you look around in the world and you're so quick to anger and so slow to forgiveness, reverse those. When you're so quick to hate on someone, relax, have a dialogue, respond, right? If you're so easy to be triggered from someone else, ask yourself why. If you are secure emotionally, if you're secure in your position on whatever it is that you believe, you would allow the other person their 5 minutes or whatever to speak and then have your counter argument. But if I could say something and it triggers the fuck out of you, you're probably not in a good place. You're probably not healed. Or there's probably a ton of truth and validity to what I'm saying. And that's what triggers you so much. I saw this thing, it was the twin flame journey, and that one will trigger the other one. And then what it does is a catalyst for so much growth. And then you eventually reach divine union. So anyway, completely random, but I like it. It's all about truth, and it's all about healing, and it's all about having courage to let go. And then asking yourself, why am I so triggered by this? Is there truth to what he's saying? Is there truth? Is there validity to his statement, right? Is the triggering from a deep-rooted insecurity because what he's saying is factual? Food for thought. Okay. Belief has a self-fulfilling quality. In the realm of healing, if you believe you're getting healed by this, you are. Okay? Lo and behold, as you think, so you are. Book 1 of this university. If you believe this remedy is poisoning to you, it is, right? It's all placebo. It's all bullshit. It's exactly what happened with COVID. Oh, I think I'm getting sick. And so you literally create the circumstances and conditions within your body to induce sickness. And then that will substantiate that claim. Now you have an even deeper belief system. Now you're certain that this bullshit is terminal. And to the severity where some people actually die from it, wow, now it has to be truth. No. From your fucking belief system. As you think, so you are. The same thing was with witches. A witch cast a spell on you in the 13th century, 1200s, 1300s, and you thought, oh no, I got hexed. Oh no, they cast a spell. I'm cursed. And then you lower your immune system, you reduce your white blood cell production, you elevate your heart rate, you produce a shitload of cortisol, you manufacture adrenaline. That's weird, I'm sick. That's weird, I'm in my hospital bed now. That's weird, I'm dead. Oh, that is an actual witch. No, you believe they're bullshit, and then all of these other deer in headlight sheep cattle who don't think for themselves, who are in these groups, who don't give distance to allow for reasoning, they see this, and then it's confirmation bias. Oh, that is a witch, because look what they did. They cast a spell on this person, and he died from it. Therefore, it's true. No, it's a stupid belief system from stupidity, founded on people who do not think for themselves, who are very easy to be manipulated, right? Don't be that person. Why? How? Think for yourself. And then you'll be able to stand guard at the doorway of your mind. You won't allow manipulation from your enemies. And if you do, you enact this quote. I allow manipulation from my enemies to see where they want me to go, right? To see how they wanted you to get vaccinated, to get all these booster shots, to get all this bullshit, to forfeit your freedom under the guise of safety and security. I allow manipulation from my enemies to see where they want me to go, and then I use my mind to break the trap and punish the perpetrator. when they invite the idea that, no, we'll give you your right to freedom of travel back if you comply with this bullshit, you say, wait a second, that's bullshit, because what is stopping you from saying, oh, just comply with this little thing, this little thing, this little thing, you can go fuck yourself. How does somebody achieve that resolve, right? That fortified mind? They stand guard at the doorway of their mind. They allow distance for reasoning, right? They think, they use their fucking head. They don't take everything at face value. They question the person that's inviting the manipulation. They allow the manipulation, but they're standing guard, they're perspicacious, they're awake, they're observant to see where they want me to go. Oh, you want me to be a docile, compliant, obedient slave, sheep, cattle, to be discarded at a whim, to be used as part of your fucking plan? I don't think so. You can go fuck yourself. Signed, your John Hancock. Signed, Tarek Alexander Hawkes. Next. Summary is, as you think, so you are, right? If you believe you're getting healed, the placebo will heal you. Just the thought that I'm healing, it's working. As you think, so you are. It will heal you. So a lot of people, you just limit yourself and you sabotage yourself from things that could heal you spiritually, emotionally, financially, but you have all of these blocks, and it's all from fear of letting go, right? But a lot of people put weight and validity into bullshit, again, from fear. And so don't be one of those sheep cattle who allow yourself to be emotionally manipulated. How do you do that, Tarek? How do you do that, Professor? By thinking for yourself, period. Use your fucking amazing mind and start to practice courage. Courage is standing up to other people, standing up to other philosophies and belief systems that aren't yours. When you feel this, even if you lack the ability to express and articulate yourself, but you feel this, something doesn't feel right, your intuition, it's not lying to you, even if you're not able to express it verbally, which is why words are so powerful. They're freedom. Because if you can't express it, then you'll comply, then you'll go with it, just because they seem really convincing, right? They're speaking with so much certainty. They have all these celebrities that have some influence that I even like, right? It's very persuasive, okay? But when you know intuitively that what they're saying is fucking bullshit, then, and you have practice enacting courage, then you'll be that guy standing at the fucking vanguard saying, go fuck yourself, right? You'll be that beacon of hope, of light, of courage for others to follow, okay? Distance allows us to implore reasoning, okay? And you can apply that to relationships, emotional detachment. So when somebody's talking about their, problem with a relationship, and this is how I'm able to help so many people with their relationships, and they explain me their situation, and I could just hear all of the disrespect that they're tolerating, I could hear all of the abuse that they're absorbing, and just, it is so evident, it's so clear as day for me, because I'm emotionally detached, because distance has allowed me to implore reasoning. And any person watching this, and this isn't to shit on yourself, we've all, fucked up, we've all made mistakes, but when you're so buried in the trees, you can't see the forest. When you're so emotionally invested into something or into a relationship, or you really like this person, you pedestaled them a mountain high, right? You don't see all of the disrespects that you're tolerating. You don't have any shame, and you're not enacting the quote that once you become embarrassed, once you remember your value, you'll be embarrassed at the shit you once tolerated. So, very important food for thought that, to be patient with people if, they say that they want help. And this is why life is about planting trees under whose shade you'll never sit. Because when I've healed people, when I've planted those seeds, they're not in that emotional place of remembering their value to change in the moment. They still have to touch the stove to know it's hot, despite all the truth that I'm giving them, all the pain that I'm trying to save them from, or help them to avoid. Save them from is the right tense, the right expression. But have some comfort within yourself if you've ever given someone advice that they just completely disregard or ignore, that they just need to learn the hard way. People only learn the hard way or the hardest way. So you just have to let them fail, let them get heartbroken, let them get fucking wrecked and decimated, and then you'll be able to help them, pick up the pieces. So, and that's the beauty thing about having an open door, that if people don't listen to you, I learned this from Jordan Peterson, stop talking to them. You can't save anybody who doesn't want to save themselves. You can't help anyone who doesn't want to help themselves. If you and this person each have a row paddle in a rowboat, you each have a paddle, and you're the only one fucking paddling, you're going in a circle. If you're paddling this way and they're paddling in the other direction, they're just fighting you, you go nowhere, right? So you cannot help someone get to where they want to go, it's a perfect analogy, unless they want to help themselves, unless they're willing to help themselves, unless they're doing more in their development in their healing than you're doing. And I've had to stop myself so many times. If I'm doing more work than the person I'm trying to help, that's a problem. And you can apply this to relationship and coaching and counseling and consulting, helping, to healing people through whatever means, whatever circumstances, whether it's a breakup, whether it's, they're unhappy with their life, whatever pain or heartache that they're enduring, or their physical transformation. If I'm coaching somebody in the gym and I'm training them and I'm doing more work than they're doing, huge problem. And it's very exposing. Oh, you're here to waste my time. You're here to get out of the work. You're here to, pay for a quick fix, little shortcuts, all bullshit that we do not align with. That if you don't want it more badly for yourself than I want it for you, then we're never going to be able to see the transformation to fruition. And you can apply that in any category. Your emotional healing, your spiritual enlightenment, your relational, divine union, divinity, your physical transformation, your financial transformation. That if you don't want it, no one is coming to save you. And no one can save you. No one can help you more than you help yourself. And I said you can also apply this to religion in terms of distance allows us to reason. I've been to Catholic churches. I've been to Christian churches. I've been to Muslim mosques. I've been to all of them. And I've been able to just sit there, observant, thinking for myself, listening to what these people are saying. And I've had a very, very fortunate sort of roadmap on my spiritual journey, on my, path with God. And that whole, I was raised Muslim until my parents divorced, then we stopped practicing. Then I went atheist for a while, and I love that. It was a gift because for the first time in my life, I was able to question religion, to challenge God, to question faith. So from a very young age, from 10, 11 years old, I was able to think for myself, even if that's not an ideology that I embody today. But what a great virtue to harness and then to implore. And then when I was an undergrad, I studied classics, so the study of ancient Greece, ancient Rome, and I had such an affinity with the pagan gods, so with Zeus, with Olympus. I loved all of that. I loved the Greek ideology of fate's design, so that your fate, it's all woven. And in Arabic culture, they have this, in Muslim culture, they have the same sentiment, it is written. And it's the same line from The Alchemist, it is written. So your story, your potential, it's all been written since the beginning of time. And I love that idea so much. So I was more, you can call me pagan, I guess, during my time as an undergrad and shortly after. And then I've completely, foregone interest in any house of worship and house of religion. I don't have an affinity with, going to a synagogue or going to a mosque or going to a Christian church or a Catholic mass. That's not what I align with whatsoever. But I align with God, and I align with truth. And I align with that spiritual divinity that's within myself, that God-like power within me, that God isn't an entity that's separate from me. I'm part of that whole, right? I'm part of that divinity. I'm just like in meditations, I'm a branch on the tree. And that's the beautiful part, is that inside of us, there's something that they don't talk about. They don't want you to know. Because if you knew how powerful you were, the world would be a very, very different place. But if you're able to harness that godlike divinity within you, you'll realize that all of us have the power of tapping into sort of the source, what in The Alchemist they call the soul of the world, that it's all, the world breathes as one, that every person, every living thing, every creature, every tree, it's all one, it all has a soul. And you literally are connected to that. And if you've ever done very, very deep meditation, you can literally plug yourself in to that godlike source and that divinity. And the power that you feel, it literally feels like as if you're taking a drug. And I've had very, very severe headaches the next day or that night, literally simulating the come down from that, that spiritual height. I was going to say, spiritual depth, which is what it is. But how if you take like a MDMA or ecstasy, and you have a high, and then because you have a high, what goes up must come down. It's a law of physics. So you're going to have a very, very bad come down in the form of, you feel hungover, a headache, whatever. I would have this excruciating migraine, and it's just like, wow. And it's actually put me on a pause from meditating, because I'm like, should this, should tapping into this, divine, think of it like a river, should be used sparingly? Like, I don't know. Or is there a way where, you can reach an even deeper level? It's a fascinating sort of door that gets opened. when you realize the power that's within you. And I know that's, a very cliche statement, but it's very, very true. But I love that. And my conceptual, what I've been doing lately is I just do walks with God. So I just imagine God. I learned this from, might have been the Power of Positive Thinking, that just talk with God as if you're talking to a friend, just a normal person. You don't have to use, the kind of, if you think of how Shakespeare wrote, you don't have to talk like that. You don't have to use Old English like that's in the King James Bible. He's like, no, he understands you. Just fucking speak normal. And it's very, very beautiful. And it's a beautiful relationship. And that's how I've sort of walked. And that's, the path that I've gone to my own spiritual enlightenment. But it ties in with this of distance allows us to reason. When you distance yourself from all of the things that you're told to believe, right? And you actually are able to step back and then question your belief system. Why do I believe what I believe, right? Where did I get that belief that I'm so hell-bent on? That when someone says this, I'm so triggered by it, right? Is this even a belief and ideology that I embody, right? Is this even something that I believe, or just something that I've been conditioned to believe? The distance from all of this programming and conditioning allows you to what? Think for yourself, okay? And then to form your own belief systems, which is the beauty of it, of you as a unique individual, is just the ability to believe whatever you want to believe, whatever you align with, whatever you feel like you're in spiritual harmony with. That's your truth, right? And no one can fucking take that from you. So if you feel like you're in complete disharmony, right, it means you're not aligning with who you are and what you ought to believe, because it would be effortless. It would be the path of least resistance. Okay. That reasoning, so distance allows us to reason, that reasoning is broken down when we join a group. The warmth and infectiousness of the group overwhelm the skeptical individual, makes you second guess, doubt all of the bullshit. So true. Because of the mass stupidity, and because of the learned state of helplessness. And because if 1,000 people are saying one thing, then it invites even a tiny bit of hesitance, of uncertainty, of doubt within your belief system. So that's how they're able to control the masses, is because they'll be this vocal fucking minority, but because they control all of the social media platforms. Think back to COVID when all your shit was, oh, this has been fact checked, this has been fact checked on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube, on insert social media fucking platform, on Instagram, on everything. How convenient to silence an entire narrative. Is that how the Holocaust happened? Yeah. If you silence an entire narrative, then you're getting a projection of a false reality if you don't allow for room for the other side to speak. That's why freedom of speech is so important. And the censorship that they're doing, and that's why it's so important what Elon did with Twitter, because now X, because what he did was possibly save freedom of speech from these satanic fucks. So again, what does it all come down to? Thinking for yourself, not allowing for manipulation from these motherfuckers just because they're a vocal minority. And you'll be able to see through all of the bullshit, right? You'll be able to challenge the bullshit to think for yourself. And not be one of these cattle, not be one of these sheep, these docile, obedient, asleep, compliant slaves. You're not one. Especially if you're in this university, especially if you're aligned with rat life, with Tarkauks. We're on the quest for freedom, period. To finish. This is the power you gain by creating a cult. Also, by playing on people's repressed sexuality. I thought this was a fantastic concept. You lead them into mistaking their excited feelings for signs of your mystical strength. You gain untold power by working on people's unrealized desire for a kind of promiscuous and pagan unity. There's a reason that people love festivals so much. And it's fascinating. That's exactly what they're doing. They're playing on mistaking people's repressed sexuality for excitement. And it allows people this sort of venue to let go, to release all of that repressed sexuality. And so you'll see all of them in the masses. Just watch a video of all of the crowd, not the stage, not the fucking idol that they're all giving their energy to. Watch the crowd and you'll be able to see it, man. You'll be able to see all of the repressed sexuality. You'll be able to see what he just says, the promiscuous. Have you been to EDC? You'll be able to see the kind of promiscuous and pagan unity. Pagan is the ideology of believing in all of these multiple gods, all of these false gods that aren't God. But I thought how fascinating, and that's exactly how you create a cult-like following. Think of any festival, think of any concert where there's a cult-like following for this one idol or multiple idols, this pagan unity, right? This era of promiscuity. And it's just, that substantiates the cult-like following. That substantiates that this is maybe the path I do not want to go down, I don't want to align with. Which is quite unfortunate. I love festivals. I love music. I love how you can transcend belief systems and different ideologies and different people's political stances, and you can unite through love and through the love of music and through the love of connection. And I love personally how when you take something like ecstasy or MDMA, how it exacerbates the oxytocin. And it's just, I love all of it. But when I look at the people in those videos, I say, I don't want to be any of you. I don't want to be any of you. I don't want to go down the route of me needing this as an escape from my life. No, I want to create a life where I don't need an escape from. And that's the beautiful premise on the other side of us escaping the rat life, is that we're able to create a life of freedom forever, a life we don't need a vacation from, we don't need an escape from, because we're free from this enslavement, right? So, food for thought. It all is food for thought, my friends. So, I know I said to finish, but there's one more line. A noble cause, and I spit, a noble cause and a new form of healing. And perhaps that's what this is. Perhaps rat life might be a cult one day, just because I'm offering this as a garden. I'm inviting this idea that you can heal here, right? By creating an environment where you feel safe to let go. So who knows what this consequence of my actions will be. But I think it'll be good. I think we have the potential to reach and touch millions of lives and heal millions of people just by aligning with God, just by speaking the truth, but just by having the courage to let go and to be honest. You know, people resonate with that. They resonate with real, not with bullshit, not with snake oil salesmen, not with cult-like fucking followings and leadership. No, programming, conditioning, enslavement, manipulation. Not a beautiful garden like rat life, like Tarkowks. Attract people's imagination. And that's what you do. When you speak with vagueness and ambiguity, you allow people to fill in and believe. You give them the opportunity, like they said, to believe what they already want to believe. We don't want to do that. I don't want to fill your imagination with false promises and a bunch of bullshit, because Tarek Hawks is not a snake oil salesman motherfucker. He's going to invite the idea of truth, of work ethic, of patience, of viewing this for the long term, right? Of perseverance, of heart, of will, of doing the fucking work. And it's worth it. It's a worthwhile goal. Why? Because the life you want is on the other side. Freedom forever. What an easy price to pay when the reward is to be free forever. The reward is freedom for myself and every person that I love. With that is law number 27. Play on people's need to believe to create a cult-like following. And with that, what's rat life? Anyone can escape, anyone can live free. Starts with belief and the courage to pursue, the courage to let go, to be honest, to be vulnerable, to put those walls down. Rat life, we're hoping to make it. I'll see you guys next time.